Hello and welcome to the Geeks Review. I'm Royce.
I'm Matt.
I'm Holly.
I'm Rob.
Our time on this earth is finite. It's a grim thought I try not to dwell upon too much, but across the ages, philosophers and intellectuals have dedicated their lives to determining what we should do with the time we have available to us. And now so have two YouTubers, or rather, had. These guys are here today to discuss the online project that was Unus Annus. So, Matt, Holly, and Rob, explain to the audience at home, what is Unus Annus?
Two YouTubers, one very popular Markiplier who rose to internet stardom by filming himself playing Five Nights at Freddy's, and then he made a whole lot of other stuff, and he's very talented, great musician, and he's a great comedian and very funny. And another YouTuber, Ethan of Crank Gameplays, who is not as popular as Mark, but
Hopefully now he is.
One of Mark's good friends, started a project where from the 13th of November 2019 until the 13th of November 2020, they would film and upload a video to YouTube every single day and then delete the channel at the end. So that means 365 videos, a few more because they uploaded
Just a couple extras
here and there of varying quality, varying subject matter, varying length, anything. They just made something every day for a whole year and then deleted it. It was always about time and respecting the time that you have, but it went past that with the community and the fan base.
I felt like the style of a lot of the videos was kind of like just daily vlogs, but they would try and do like the zaniest stuff possible, like take an idea and see how far they can go with that until it becomes ridiculous. But it was kind of them just kind of living out their lives, but looking for like the weirdest kind of experiences or just the stupidest ideas that they could do and just pushing that.
The idea was that nothing lasts and that everything has an end and everything has a death. And their channel's kind of tagline that they ended up, other than Unus Annus itself,
which means 1 year in Latin.
They ended up having a channel motto, which was Memento Mori, which in Latin roughly translates to remember death or remember the end. So it was very much about how everything ends, nothing lasts forever. It was a form of internet ephemeral art.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that. They put an ephemeral quality onto
something that
internet
people
content.
Say is like permanent and will always stay there forever.
Yeah, like normally it is, but they wanted to defy that whole convention completely.
And they deleted all of, as of the ending of their channel, which was for us yesterday, as we're speaking about it now, so it's very fresh in our minds. They deleted not only all of the videos on their channel, all of the content that they'd uploaded, they also deleted their Reddit, their Twitter, their Tumblr, despite never posting.
What did they even do with the Tumblr?
They just were like, oh, we'll remove the picture.
I think they just used it to get like memes and like fan art and stuff to look at.
Yeah, they
at
never
the
posted on it.
Yeah.
But they removed all traces of what Unus Annus was, except for the creations that other people had made to bring on the legacy.
Oh, actually, I want to ask you guys what you think of this. Literally, as I was leaving this morning, my girlfriend Liv, she was a huge fan of the Unus Annus series. Really invested in it, like on a deep level. And as I was going, she said to me, just before I walked out the door, she was just like, hey, Mark and Ethan have allowed people to upload compilations. Unus Annus compilations. And I said, my reaction right off the bat was, I said, that's really generous. What do you guys think? Like, does that walk the line between like keeping it ephemeral and...
The thing is that they always said that the thing that they wanted to have removed was their content. So if someone uploaded a full episode of Unus Annus. If someone uploaded a full video, then they would take it down. But the compilation videos are transformative. And I suppose they find that if it's transformed, eventually it will become so warped that people won't even know the context. And, like, even now, like, Royce, you didn't know about this until it was too late.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of speaking on behalf of a more jaded person here. I'm not jaded myself. I sort of feel like, okay, well, this isn't so much like a death, because that's sort of the approach they're taking with it, isn't it? Like, you know, our time is finite, that the time of the channel is finite, you know. Once something is gone, you're only left with the memories. And, you know, I'm just thinking, well, people are just going to re-upload, you know. You take it down, people are going to still post it. They're still going to host it on, you know, various file sharing sites that they probably don't even know exist. It's going to still be there. It's sort of more like, I mean, there's even old TV shows which sort of disappear from the public consciousness and have vanished forever.
Yeah.
But this is different because it was so widely publicized, and it's not really like a death unless they go and, you know, stop producing content altogether following this, unless they completely erase everything else. It's not like...
Well, the thing is,
it's
Unus
dead.
Annus will never make another video again.
Yeah.
As Unus Annus, Mark and Ethan will never make another video again. As Mark and Ethan, they will.
Yeah, it's more like a project, though, as opposed to, like, the actual death of a creator. Or...
It's
But
the death of...
the project was to highlight how finite time was, because the videos on Unus Annus, you know, they were fun to watch, but they weren't the kind of thing I would revisit, you know. I'd watch... I mean, some of the stuff is really funny, and some of it, I would revisit, but a lot of it I can just watch once and I can be happy that I've seen it, and then that's it. And that's the same with lots of YouTube videos. Like, I'll watch them once and, like, that's it. And that's fine, but there's a certain comfort in knowing that they're still there, and if I wanted to, I could go watch it.
It's the panic of when you see a meme that you think is funny and then cannot find it ever again.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my god, what was that? When will I ever, like, kind of have the experience of digesting this again?
But with Unus Annus, it's a conscious knowing that it will never be there again in the form that it was.
Speaking of that, actually, we might discuss that in a little bit about things which have been lost to time on the internet, which is this resource where everything is supposedly permanent. Some things still do go missing, so we might discuss that towards the episode's end about things which have, you know, which we personally had reverence for, apart from Unus Annus, which have sort of, you know, vanished from the web altogether. So, yeah, apparently it really was about dealing with death. Like, they did do something about, like, shopping for a coffin.
Yeah,
Yes.
so the channel's actual videos really varied, because obviously they started this in November last year, and then COVID happened. So all of the plans that they had made for the entire rest of the year just went down the drain. Because they had planned out a bunch of stuff. Like, not all of it was planned, because it was a lot of that kind of spontaneous thing.
Yeah.
But anything that they had scheduled out and planned just got completely thrown out the window, and they had to make it up on the spot. So there were some videos that were geared more towards mortality and death and things like that, and shopping for a coffin was geared towards death, but mostly it was, the whole point of the channel was about two people just enjoying time with each other and with their work, and then what happens when all of that is gone. Not as much about death. Like, there's a lot of references to death, and most of those were actually just done by their editor Marcus, who had we found out yesterday, because they had a 12-hour live stream that signaled the end of Unus Annus.
The live stream ended with the deletion of the channel.
So you was like live stream ended, and you'd refresh the page and the page was gone. And Marcus worked for the Game Theorists, worked for MatPat and the Game Theorists for a while, and he just thought it would be really funny to add some context into these videos that meant nothing, and add lore about death and about these characters of Unus and Annus, which represented Mark and Ethan. And none of it was real. None of it was real. It was all just Marcus screwing around, and he was like, oh, they're going to tell me to stop. And they were just like, this is funny. And it got so bad that it even fooled MatPat into thinking that there was a storyline here.
When
Which there wasn't
at all.
At all. It was
At all.
just the editors and Mark and
Like
Ethan
an
having
AIG
fun
or
with
something.
it.
It was more about the theme, and sometimes the way they would go about sticking to that theme would be done in a very loose way. But it was more about the idea than like them sort of being characters.
Yeah.
You've got to remember that they were pumping this content out.
Yeah.
So there wasn't
Yeah.
time. Like every now and then they'd have a really nicely produced, nicely filmed, well scripted short film almost, and something that they had this theme where like every like 3 months or whatever there'd be a video of Mark and Ethan because the channel's motif was like black and white with a spiral, and Mark would wear a white 3-piece suit and Ethan would wear a black one, and when those were on, they were talking about
They were the
seriously.
characters of Unus and Annus,
Yeah.
Unus being Ethan and Annus being Mark.
And they'd talk about time and remember this is all going to leave. But then other videos were like really stupid stuff, like
Them drinking their own pee,
or
for
they'd
instance.
they'd go to a sex shop and buy a bunch of vibrators and whips and
PG,
what's the
PG, Matt.
what's
Paddle?
yeah, and a riding crop.
I don't know.
Riding crop.
Yeah.
And they'd cook with them. They made pancakes with
cooking-
sex toys.
Yeah.
Cooking with sex toys,
And
yeah.
they also had a whole Camp Unus Annus where they went out and it became a meme that you have to always go into the wilderness and have a buddy system. And they'd make stupid skits that would eventually just end with them improving Mark killing Ethan or one of them getting lost in the woods. And there was this weird in-universe joke, despite there not really being any lore, that Mark went crazy and turned into this primal naked man called He-Who. Like,
Yeah.
some of it was just pure bull.
Yeah.
But then there were other moments that were really poignant and really fit with the theme. And especially during the COVID era, there were a lot of misses. But they were still fun. Like, every video was fun.
There was like 2 months where Mark and Ethan just had to Skype each other, and that was the video because they'd be in quarantine. But it's
Like, then they'd find fun things to do, like building IKEA furniture.
yeah, but it was because the it was real. Like the the scripted Remember Death videos were. They were great and they were important, but it was really the crux of it was just Mark and Ethan being friends
Trying new things.
and just being genuine that allowed the audience, and it did spawn an enormous audience to connect.
Well, yeah, I mean, it had like a hashtags trending on Twitter. Which is
Yeah,
how I
last
found out
night
about it.
was, the hashtag Unus Annus is over party and hashtag Memento Mori were trending, which was really cool. And halfway through, Mark ended up trending and Ethan ended up trending, which he was very excited about because he'd never trended on anything in his life. But yeah, it was mostly just about them being friends and trying new things together, having new experiences. And the saddest thing for me is that having Unus Annus around now and having it around in the future would be a really interesting reflection on this time in our history where we've got the pandemic going on and everything's happening. But I also like that the pandemic went on and that we don't have that anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's almost like a new beginning, the end of it. Like, especially after this year, which has been nightmarish for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It might be sort of a good thing to move on from that and completely, well, not just have the memories and not have the reminders there.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff out there already where people are just impacted by it.
And what I think the reason why the community rallied so strongly behind Unus Annus was because it brought joy. And it was just, as we've said, two friends having fun, being idiots, doing things like making gourmet dog treats for their dogs versus them, again, drinking their own pee, which will never We will never forget that Mark and Ethan drank their own pee. As a big fan, I will never forget that. I will never be able to look at them the same way again. But for people who didn't see those videos, they're not going to know. No one's going to know.
The burden just
Yeah.
just lying on you,
know?
forever.
Yeah, no
Maybe it was a
one
good
will
thing it
know
ended.
what we know. And even Mark and Ethan said last night that after the Unus Annus, when people ask, what was Unus Annus? The response should be, you had to be there.
Yeah.
Rather than explaining what it is, because let's be real, honestly, even with this radio show that we're doing, most people who listen to this will have no clue, even after we've divulged everything about it.
Yeah, I tried to explain it, and I sort of leaned a bit too heavy into the death angle of things.
Yeah,
which is
'cause
kind of
it's
what I was
so
thinking.
complicated.
Yeah,
Well, that's how they publicised it, so I don't
Yeah.
blame you for that, because
Yeah.
it's so funny that you had no idea about it until last night after they deleted it.
Yeah, I don't really watch any big YouTubers, to be honest.
Fair.
But
Me neither. And like I said, I mentioned, like, my partner kind of already followed Mark.
Yeah.
And then so because of that, she ended up showing me this series. And I was aware of him as a public figure, like, sure,
You
but I
didn't
never...
particularly like him, did you?
It's not that I personally disliked him. I didn't care for what he did.
You just thought he was internet fluff.
Yeah, I did describe it like that. I said it was, for me, fluff. Like the playing video games in front of a camera. It
Had
was
no
never
real
my
impact
thing.
on you.
No, it never did anything to me. I was just like, oh, okay. So this is the first thing that he's been involved in that I've kind of like actually cared about, and it's made me kind of actually see more of like what he's about and the
Which
type
is
of guy that he
really-
is.
That's really interesting to me because I'm a long-time fan of Mark. He was one of the first people I really got. Started off with Dan and Phil, and then I progressed to Smosh and things, and then Mark came along, and I was obviously into PewDiePie as well, and you know, Jack ended up coming along too, Jacksepticeye. But Mark, I've been watching Mark since pretty much the very beginning, really. You know, when he started gaining some traction, before Five Nights at Freddy's, but when he started gaining some traction. And, like, this is the most cliche thing you'll ever hear about any celebrity ever, but he did get me through some really hard times.
Lots of people have said that.
Because he's
Yeah.
just such a force to be reckoned with, and his charisma is just infectious.
Yeah, I
And-
could never deny that. Even at the point of like before this, like just not caring about him really, just like whatever, he's not my thing. I couldn't deny just that he had a magnetism.
Yeah.
He had a great voice as well.
And
Yeah.
Ethan has
We're
the
talking
same
about him like
thing.
he's dead.
Well, no.
He
he's
had a
still-
great voice.
He's still alive.
Hello, everybody, my
he's
name's
still
Markiplier.
around. Arnis is gone, but he's still there.
Yeah.
But Ethan was the same. Like, Ethan came in as kind of his little protege for a little while there. Not to demean Ethan, he's a great creator in his own right, but Ethan came in as a fan of Mark, and then after 2 backflips at different PAXs around America, because he decided that was how he was going to, you know, say thank you to Mark. He was going to do a backflip for him.
Do a flip.
Yeah, literally. And it just astounded Mark, and then they became friends. And because of that, I got to know Ethan through Mark's videos. They do collaborations with another one of Mark's friends, Tyler. And I always thought Ethan had something really special, but I didn't know about his own channel. I had no clue that he had his own channel. I had no clue that he was even really into YouTube other than him being in Mark's videos. And so seeing him grow through Unus Annus, it's just both of them. They both grew so much just by being in this ephemeral piece of artwork.
They've shown what other kind of stuff they can do.
And for people who didn't know the channel, because now it's gone, there's nothing left. For people who didn't know the channel, imagine that amazing vibe that you'd get when you watch an old pre-Unus Annus Ethan or Mark video, and then you watch a post-Unus Annus Ethan or Mark video. or even one during. Like Mark and Ethan are still uploading, and they have been throughout all of Unus Annus. So they've done Unus Annus every single day and their YouTube channels. Watching them progress, but then you don't have the context of them spending almost every single day of every single week of every single month of a whole year together.
It is an interesting concept, and I mean, we talk about how they're going to be uploading, we'll allow fans to upload compilations and such. Yeah, it's an interesting concept, and one that would be difficult to try and enforce, I think,
Well, they've got a team of lawyers. That sounds really bad.
He did say that.
Yeah, he said, I wish I was joking. I'm not. Which would suck, and I guess they wanted to make that really clear before the channel was ended, because like Ethan said in the live stream yesterday, they don't want people who have established YouTube channels with videos they're proud of having, in reality, their channel fully deleted because they post an Unus Annus video.
Yeah.
Because that will happen if people don't stick to the rules.
It is almost a shame that has to be the case, because it also kind of brought to mind something like maybe a travelling fair or like a theme park, where every day there was a new attraction and you could go along and you could rewatch all the previous attractions, experience those, watch the new ones. But then after a year it packed up and went away and it never came back again. And you were just stuck with your memories and like video recordings and that sort of stuff happens with like live performances, with travelling shows. So that's kind of what I compare it to, I think, the most, because, or even like a TV show, which, before the age of the internet just vanished off the face of the world. Yeah.
I think why it kind of really hits home with like Matt and Holly and I is because of that example you mentioned of theatrical stuff, because we, all three of us, have done work in that area. And that ephemeral quality of like living through it and doing it, people seeing it, and it's done, and like that, even if someone else does the same story, it's the same script again. That version of what that was is never going to exist again.
Yeah, and I guess as well with COVID, it did bring an extra sense of like poignancy to it, because before they would have gone like, we're going to go bungee jumping and skydiving and we're going to maybe travel to Italy or do stuff like this, but then COVID, made them homebound, and then it was sort of like, well, because that was the whole idea. It was like, what if you only had like a year left to live? What would you do? Yeah. And that's a question I will ask you in a second, actually. But with this uncontrollable thing that happened in the world that impacted everyone, and including their, at the end of the day, sort of silly little show, it did take on the extra meaning because of it, I feel. Like, they were sort of like, well, we can't do anything, and this is what life has dealt us. This is the hand we've been dealt. And they tried to make the best of that. But yeah, I guess it's a very dark question to ask you all. But if you sort of knew you had a finite amount we all do.
Everyone has a finite amount of time.
But if you knew like a year from now, which is a terrifying thought, what would you do? You don't need to answer it because it is such a heavy topic and we've only got limited time with this very episode.
Well, that kind of makes me think of something that Mark said. I believe it was in the live stream where they were saying goodbye to the channel. He was talking about one of the projects they did for Unus Annus over the course of the year, and it was one of the more complicated things to film and act out, and impressive that it was done over the course of the day, and the final product was that polished. But he spoke about it on the live stream, and really the phrase that he said, I think it was just, when you have to make things, you make things. That was like the way he said it. You make stuff. You really get your creative juices flowing in a very powerful way when you have that push, and there's the pressure there of like, oh well, there's no doing it tomorrow or next time. It's like, we have to make this now. And it's kind of like pretty inspiring in a way, I guess. It makes you think. It's like, wow, yeah, it's true. It's like you think about your ambitions and stuff and projects and what you want for the future. It's like, I could do that. I can make that happen, And
I think it shows what the program and what Unus Annus has actually done for its community, because I remember the first thing one of the first things that Rob and I said to each other after the channel was deleted was that we now have this newfound sense of we can do things. Like,
You
if
can get
they
shit
can
done.
do it.
If you just push yourself and get off your ass.
Yeah. Like we were saying, like, you know, it is the question of what if you only had a year to do things? What would you do? How would you do it? And it's that kind of thing of maybe I do need to do that and set myself a year to do something. Like maybe with you, writing a script. Maybe you need to set yourself, you have to do it within a year.
It's like, okay, just start thinking with this mentality of like, oh, what if that was it? What if it's only like this year or this month, or it's like you've only got that time. So
and
it's
Mark's,
like you have to
Mark
do it.
said in the live stream, like, don't try and do what we did. Like, you don't have to do what we did. You don't have to do as many things as we did in the year, because they did a lot of things. But even if you just set yourself one thing to do within a year, you can do it, because if we can do 365 of these things, you can accomplish one task, because there is so much time in a year that you don't even realise you have.
And to wrap it up just very quickly, going back to my earlier question, is there anything which has sort of disappeared from the internet or from TV which, you know, you have memories of but you've never been able to track down, find? You know, this is sort of a tricky one.
Well, Matt and I just had a very sad time recently where one of our favourite videos was deleted and we can't find it now. You know, the one of the Cars ride? There's a very... and I can't find it anywhere and I need to find it. There's a video of...
it either.
It's the Cars ride in Disneyland. And there's 3 sounds... and the 3 sounds work perfectly with each other, and it's one of those videos that never fails to make me laugh. And it's just gone.
It's just a 5-second clip that there's no intelligence behind it. It's just unexpected and funny, but it always makes you laugh. And
It's a guy screaming at a sound and a vision.
which isn't always funny, but sometimes it just is.
Yeah.
And
It's just gone.
so it's gone, which is really sad.
Yeah, there's one that a friend and I have been looking for a while. It's just like a grassy field and there's like hard rock music playing and this big guy runs towards the camera and he's like wheezing. He's like, the music stops and he goes, and he turns around and runs off with the music stopping.
Oh,
yeah.
You know that?
That's
I think
somewhere
I know
in the
what you're
recesses
talking
of my
about.
memory.
I've been looking for it because it's such a perfect reaction to...
Something like buried, like
Yeah.
in my mind. I can picture that.
Yeah, but, you know, I can't find it. And my friend has been asking on Reddit.
Damn.
That's the show for today. Our time is done.
Well, there it goes.
Memento Mori.
Memento Mori.
I'm Royce,
I'm Matt.
I'm Holly.
I'm Rob.
and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.